Alright, so let's recap, especially for those kids that were doing that test yesterday. So we've started trigonometry. Tell me what shape are we looking at? Right angle specifically. Right angle triangle. Okay, so trigonometry, this trigonometry is only working for right angle triangles. Now, this trigonometry, because there is an area of trigonometry that can fit any triangle, but this stuff is just for right angle triangles. Remember the triangles we're looking at will have some other angle marks on there. So, and this one I've marked as 32. So when I'm talking about the angle, I'm not talking about the 90-degree angle, I'm talking about the other one. If I were to label this, remember there are three things that we're labeling. What are we labeling? I should have everyone's done them. I should just have a couple. Hannah?
The angle, like
the side legs, what they call?
the high top.
Where's that?
The one across from, yeah, that one. The
right
opposite, which is opposite the angle. Well, the not
Yeah.
right angle, and the adjacent.
Lovely. Okay, so we've got the hypotenuse, the opposite, the adjacent. We don't normally have to do three letters, we can just do HOA. So that's how we would label the triangle. Then there are three ratios that we talk about. Who can tell me what the little phrase thing is that we remember at the time? SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so S-O-H, car, toa. So depending on how you say this, sometimes you get the wrong letters. So it's SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. So these O and H, A and H and O and A refer to these things here. What does the S stand for?
Sine.
Sine. Yes, so on your caps, remember you've got that sine button. What does the C stand for? Cos or cosine, T, tan. Alright, so what's special about the sine, the cos and the tan? That I said to you yesterday, it's always attached to the... You can't just have sine.
Beta.
It always has to have the angle attached to it, okay? So, if we talk about the triangle here, we would have to say sine 32 at some point, okay? Or cos 32 or tan 32. Okay, you all happy with that? So the sine, cos or tan has to be attached with the angle measure that's shown.
We normally just write the theta, right? Not the third.
Well, so the questions that we've been doing up until now have always been finding those angles, yes? So we've been writing sine theta, cos theta, tan theta, and then if we know that sine, or let's say tan theta is equal to 2.7, how would I find the theta? What do I do, Ashley?
Tan to the power of
Good, tan to the minus 1, or the inverse tan of 2.7. Do you remember that bit?
No.
Okay, so if we know that the tan of an angle is 2.7, then to find the angle to undo it, if you like, so it would be the inverse of 2.7. What mode should your calcs be in?
Three.
Threes. Okay, so remember you need to make sure that that's checked before you go into an exam. As I say, we will normally be there to remind you or to check it for you. Right, alright, so that's a recap of what we did yesterday. So that was finding angles. So we were always using this inverse button. Now, we're going to be looking at finding side lengths. Okay? So, if you're given an angle other than 90 at one side, you can calculate the missing side or sides using trigonometry. You will notice that the steps to follow are very, very similar to yesterday's. So you label the sides HOA, you identify which ratio you're looking at, write the appropriate ratio statement, and rearrange to calculate as necessary. It says here, remember that the angle always belongs to the sine, the cos, or the tan. Now, in questions like this, it's pretty straightforward, which, no, I'll start pushing it. Alright, so when we come to this one here, so what was our first step? We had to label HOA. Jodie, can you label an HOA for me, please?
H is the 15.1 centimeters. O is the A side, and then A is the...
Okay, so you maybe look at that and go, whoa, that's already labelled A, what's she labelling O? Okay, they have called this A, but that's nothing to do with the calculating your side length, okay? So they may do this in a real exam. Okay, so they're not always going to use the letter X to make it nice and less confusing. They may use the letter A. So just be aware of that. So we've labelled HOA. Now, here is where we decide which of the lengths is useless to us. Tanya, which of these HOA is useless to us for this particular question? Yes, the A. Are you all happy that the A is useless to us? Now, I say useless to us because we've been given the H, okay, so that's a given. We're good to go with that one. But whilst we haven't been given this side length, we're asked to find it, okay? So because this question involves these two side lengths, this one is completely irrelevant. So whilst we don't know either of these lengths, this one, they don't even want us to work out, okay? Does that make sense? So we've discarded that one, and now in our Toa, Samantha, which of the so-called Toa are we going to use for this particular question?
Fun.
And why?
Because we're not using the
Yeah, and so this one has an O and an H in it, okay? So we write so, just to remind us, and then we can start filling in things. Now, this is where your speed, distance, time triangle-esque comes in. We say to ourselves, which length are we asking us to, are we needing to find? So it's the O. So how do they work? Well, we cover up the letter we're missing. So I'm covering up the O. Where are the S and the H positions? Next to each other. So what does that mean we're going to be doing with this? Multiplying. Yes? So I can say that the opposite length, I'm going to write opposite of that, is equal to sine of the angle multiplied by the hypotenuse. So that's just literally covering up the O, that's the length we need to find. They're next to each other, so I'm multiplying them. Now I've made sure that I've written sine theta because I know that my angle has to go to that. Now, whilst we're writing that now, you're not necessarily going to have to write that in an exam. You can go straight to using the labels and numbers that they've given. So here, I can say that A is equal to sine what?
42.
42 multiplied by
15.1.
15.1. Now, when you're entering this into your calculator, you have to be careful because your calculator will automatically open up a bracket here, and your cursor will be flashing here. So if you write 42, you must then come out of the bracket to do the multiply by 15.1, because otherwise it's going to work out that, okay? And that's not what we want it to do. So you need to make sure that it comes out of this bracket, and then you write multiply by 15.1. Right, let's pause that way and do that. Okay, so again, labeling HOA. Aria, can you label my HOA, please?
H is provided. O is
Lovely. And Layla, which of these is irrelevant to us? The O, so I'm crossing that out. Emily, do I use so, car, or toa? Car, lovely. And again, this is where we need to use our speed distance triangle thing to help us. Cassidy, which one am I trying to find? H. So I'm covering up H. So I'm covering up H. H. Oh my gosh, so you're going to say hi. Equal what? Be careful, what's up in the air? So remember the speed distance time triangle, it's whatever's up in the air. So H would equal A over C. And remember, C stands for cos, and I'm going to put the angle with it as well. Again, that step is not necessarily going to need to be written every time, but for the time being, it's probably a good idea, just while you get used to it. So the hypotenuse is equal to the adjacent over the cosine. Is everyone seeing how the speed distance time thing works?
So if it's the little letters on the top.
So if the letter is up in the air, it's going to be on the top of the fraction always. And if you're covering that one up, it's going to be multiplied.
How do you
Bless you. Hang on one second. So now we actually fill in our numbers. Oh, so y is equal to 6.2 divided by cos of 38. Now, probably the easiest thing to do if you're doing it on the big calcs is if you look to the right of the number 9, you've got an option of using fractions. You see it's a button kind of, oh, and it says something here and then that. So just on the right of the 9. So if you do press that first, and then you can input 6.2 on here, and then cos 38 on the bottom. Am I getting a yes, no, whatever? Let me pause it and I'll come around and check. Tanya? So y was 7.87, sorry, is that what?
Yeah.
I think this says Alright, okay, last example here. So again, we're labeling HOA. So HOA. Hannah, which of these is useless to me?
H.
Okay. So Lara, am I using SOFA or TOA?
So 10.
10. So I'm using TOA. We're trying to find Ashley, Stephen, which side link? O, and so what would that be? Opposite is equal to what?
10.
Good. 10 beta multiplied by
8.3.
what? Yeah, let's just use letters first. So it's tan multiplied by A, yes? Yeah. You're happy with that? So I covered up that next to each other so they're multiplied. So my letter P is equal to tan 62 multiplied by 8.3. And again, make sure that when you're entering into the calculator, you take your cursor out the bracket when you're entering it in. And what answer do we have for that upward?
15.61.
15.61. Or 15.6. Basically, yeah.
On the little calculators, do you have to take the brackets out?
You should. I think so.
I
Yeah.
think I get the same answer without. Yeah.
Oh. It may jump itself out of the bracket anyway.
If you delete the bracket, it deletes the whole thing. Yeah.
When I say take it, I don't mean get rid of the bracket. I just mean move it out.
Only put the little angle.
Make sure it's just the angle, just the 62 is in the bracket. That's what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah,
Was
that's, I thought you meant like don't have anything.
No, I apologize. I just mean that up here, like this one here, if you just type multiply by 15.1, it keeps it in the bracket, and then it's going to find the sign down there. Yeah. Okay, so that's all we need to know about trigonometry. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, well, that's not all we need to know at all. But pretty much for trig ratios, for right angle trig ratios, that's essentially what we need to learn. So you've got some examples here, so have a batch of those ones, and we'll check that everyone's got the right answers for those. And then I'll set you on to some work. Yes. So do we all have these as our answers? So 37.8, 15.0, 36.4, 11.7, 4.82, 11.9, 2.1 and 2.78.
So it's a 360, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, so this one.
Oh, sorry. It did not say
2.0.
Yeah, but
2.08. Yeah, 2.08. Okay, awesome. Thank you.